So in today's episode, we sit down with Jenny from Blow Dry Bar, and we talk about her journey through growing, expanding her company to multiple locations, and then the pandemic hits, and how she pivoted that, and how she was able to continue to grow her business through building a team. Grab a piece of paper and pen and take some notes, because you're going to get some great insights from our episode. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Marshall Stern, and I've spent over 35 years leading and growing multiple small businesses. I know firsthand the struggles of entrepreneurship, feeling isolated, lonely, overwhelmed, and feeling like you have to do it all by yourself. I've been through multiple recessions, and I have felt the highs and the lows. I've been there, and I get it. This podcast is here to change that. Every week, I will bring you straight talking advice, real-world strategies, and honest conversations about what it takes to succeed in business without the fluff, the gimmicks, or the sugarcoating. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress, then you are in the right place. This is the Stern Truth. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stern Truth Business Unfiltered, and we have another special guest for you to meet today. Jen, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, I want you to introduce yourself because you'll do it best. But I think we've known each other for a few years now. I know I had you inside of doing a member spotlight a few years back in the Business Inner Circle. But I just want you to share with us a little bit about yourself, your business, and your journey.
Sure. I mean, I could go on for about an hour just on the intro, but I won't. So my name is Jenny Randhawa, and I own Blow Dry Bar here in Vancouver. I have currently 3 locations. Once upon a time, I had about 5, but now we're at 3. So I have one in Yaletown, South Granville, and a new location that just opened in Lower Lonsdale in North Vancouver. So many of you have probably heard of Blow because it's the holy grail of blowouts. But for those who haven't, Blow is a blow dry bar that is the first of its kind in North America. It started here in Vancouver in Yaletown in 2007 and quickly grew to 3 locations within a year. South Granville, and there was one in the Four Seasons Hotel. And I jumped on board very early on when they announced the opening. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to sneeze. So I came on board in 2009, and I took over the 3 corporate locations in Vancouver in 2010. And I had already an existing franchise location in South Surrey. So in a matter of 6 months, I basically had 4 locations overnight. So I've been running this business ever since.
Wow. So it's been around, what year was it? 2007?
So 2007, Blow originally opened.
Nice.
Yep, in Yaletown, and then South Granville, and followed by Four Seasons.
Okay.
And I bought the 3 locations off corporate in 2010. Yeah.
2010. Okay, nice. So it's been around 18 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Time flies. And you have 2 kids?
I do have 2 kids. Yes. Jax, he is 11, and Ava, she's 11, turning 12. So she's going to be working with me very soon.
Okay, so my question right now is, how do you juggle it all?
Well, I feel like the early years, the first 10 years were really, really hard. And that's when the growing phase is happening in the business. Back then, I basically was dragging my kids along with me to meetings, to interviews, to picking up inventory, to checking out the locations. They were with me at all times. So as they got older, obviously, they start going to preschool, daycare, school. So I tend to try to get all my work done while they're basically at school. And I try to free up my evenings, obviously, for them, and dinner and homework and all the fun stuff. So I may not have long work days, but there's a lot of stuff jam-packed into those a few hours. And now, the businesses are established. The two locations, especially Yaletown and South Granville, they're established. So it doesn't take as much energy and effort. It takes a different kind of effort, more oversight, I think. Whereas the new location, which just opened about 4 months ago, is my new infant baby that does require a lot of time and effort and energy. So I'm just kind of remembering back to the old days now with the new location. It's very different.
And these are all corporate locations?
No, not anymore. No, they're all franchised.
They are franchised.
Yeah, since
Okay.
2010. So I was the first franchise partner in the system back then.
Okay.
Um, I was the first franchise partner, but also the first multi-unit owner in the system. So I've grown up with them, and we've all kind of worked together to establish systems and processes to make things work, whether it's a single unit or a multi-unit. So yeah, I've seen all the growing pains with corporate.
Okay. So you said at one point you had 5 locations.
Hmm.
Now again, were those 5 corporate locations or they were franchised, all separate
All
franchises?
franchised, yeah. Well, so I'll back up. In 2009, when I signed on to be part of Blow, the original agreement that was that I would open one location in South Surrey. So I did that in April of 2010, and the three original corporate locations downtown, Yaletown, South Granville, and Four Seasons, they were corporate owned. And basically, my 28-year-old risk-taking self messaged corporate and basically said, you need to sell these corporate locations. And they said, well, why don't you buy them? And I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but okay. And so basically 6 months later, I ended up owning three more locations.
Wow.
So yeah, so
So
within April to October, I had overnight basically four.
4 locations.
Mhm.
Okay. And then there was a fifth one at some point.
And now North Van is technically the fifth, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I don't own South Surrey anymore. I sold that off in the first 2 years. And then Four Seasons, the hotel, I'm sure anyone who's part of Vancouver remembers when the hotel itself closed down. So because we were in the lobby of the hotel, we also had to close our doors.
Right. Right. I'm sure we could probably be on for a while. There's highs and lows. I mean, we're here to talk about really the journey and the stern truths behind the journey. What would you say would be the real truth, the stern truth over what's helped you with the success to get to the point where you're at? I mean, 18 years is staying power. I know
Mhm.
you've been involved for 17 of those years.
Mhm.
But what would you attribute the success to?
Well, number one, having a great team. Um, what I inherited back then in 2010 was a very junior team that didn't have processes in place. We didn't have systems in place. It was just kind of all over the place. And we were kind of running around trying to just basically put out fires. It was more of a reactive approach rather than a proactive approach. So maybe that did work for a couple of years before I had kids. But once I had my daughter in 2013, I still tried to do that, but I just found I wasn't getting anywhere. The business wasn't growing and my team wasn't thriving. And, it just wasn't how I had pictured the whole thing. And mind you, having three locations all at once and never having owned a business in life or leading a team in life. I was still learning too as a new entrepreneur and business owner. So I think it really did hit me in 2015 that I needed to change something if I really wanted to see the business thrive. So I sat down and just kind of figured out what is it that I need help with and what is it that I can delegate and who can help me with this. So I made that list up first, and then I looked at my team and said, I picked the 4 or 5 people that I knew would really help me and were really committed and loyal. And I said, hey guys, let's divide this up. I need managers at each location. I need somebody who's leading this area of the business and this area. And everyone stepped up. And so once that happened, we put systems in place, processes in place, policies. We started really pushing on our policies. Um, I saw in the first 3 months of doing that in 2015, my business grew 40% just in 3 months. And that was because we were following systems and processes and rules, and somebody was responsible for certain parts of the business that were impactful to the day to day. And so once that happened, things got a lot better. I started attracting better team members. I was able to develop team members into managers, regional managers, district managers. Yeah, so there was just a lot of stepping back and seeing what can be done and finding the right people to help you with that.
So, okay. So we're talking 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 5 years
Mm-hmm.
to 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and the entire world shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
How did you navigate that? How did you navigate it and come out of it on top?
So at that point, so we all closed down March. My Four Seasons location actually closed January, 2 months prior. So going into COVID, I had just the two locations. And I I know this is the complete opposite of what majority of the world thought of that whole closure period, the 3 months. But for me, that was a welcome break. I can't describe it, but basically for me, I had not had a break in 10 years in the business. And I always just dreamed of being able to just not think for a minute or have a week off or not worry. So when that break came, I don't know, maybe the stress hormone disappeared or something, and I was able to finally think. Um, but during that time, I sat back and I thought, okay, we're going to reopen in 3 months. How are we going to do things different? Because we're coming out of this, we're going to have half the chairs that we normally do. And how are we going to survive on half the chairs, half the space, basically? And so, we worked on that, and then I had my team's complete buy-in that we were going to schedule differently. We were going to, um, you know, in terms of their availability, I needed all hands on deck. I needed flexibility. So I really tried to use that time on putting in the ideas that I had always dreamt of doing prior to COVID. And so I used that time after to implement all of that. And so once we reopened in June of that year, um, it was like it was crazy. It was like a faucet turned on, and we were full from day one of opening. And now it wasn't so much about um, trying to attract clients, trying to bring in more clients. It was actually trying to figure out how to manage the demand,
Hmm.
how to manage the schedule. How can we be more efficient in less space? So it was a totally different way of thinking. And that is more of like a abundance, like that whole abundance thinking and feeling. That's kind of where we were at. It wasn't a scarcity thing. It was more of an abundance thing. And we were now managing how do we fit in the same number of clientele, same number of appointments in less space. And so we did that really well. We navigated that really well. We had the team on board was just the best team that I had at that time up until that point. I mean, my team now is amazing as well. But we all really were flexible. We thought of solutions together. We worked together on how to make it work. So it worked really well. So now the last 4 years, 5 years, we've been number one in Canada and number two or three, depending on where New York is sitting or all the other bigger bars are sitting. But we're, in the top five for sure in North America. So I'm
Nice.
proud of that.
Yeah, and you know what? So it's interesting. So you said when the lockdown first happened that it was actually, you didn't use the word relief, but it was a time you weren't like it was you were calm. It was calm.
It was calm. Yeah.
I felt the same way.
Hmm.
I mean, for me, it was only a few weeks because my business was my signage company. I had a signage company at the
Hmm.
time. It ended up becoming an essential service,
Right.
and we went from like zero to like like April being our worst month ever to May being our best month ever, and then it went
Yeah.
back to like down because we did everything in May. But
Hmm.
I remember in I guess mid March it was for those few weeks. Yeah, it was this just this. I mean, the entire world was shut down, so it was this feeling
Yes.
of just can't do anything, like just
Yeah.
calmness. And I remember just being outside with my kids playing basketball and
Hmm.
spending time and different times. It was yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I thought I was odd for feeling that way, but
Yeah.
I'm
I
glad
know.
you yeah.
I loved it. It was peaceful. It was calm. It was just relaxing. And I actually, it was funny because all those years I always wanted to learn about all our products more in detail, like the
Mm.
ingredients and actually what they do. And I could never spend that time doing it. So I just used to rely on my educators. But that time I spent learning about our products. And every week I was actually um, sending out about 1,000 text messages to our database
Yeah.
and asking if anyone needed a product. And then people were asking me questions about what do you think I need and what's best for my hair. So here I am now for 12 weeks learning about products. And I just felt that much more, I don't know, in tune with my business, just more grounded, you know? So it was nice. I met a lot of clients during that time and went to their homes, dropped off
Yeah.
product and all that kind of stuff. So it was a different aspect I was focusing on, social media and product education. So,
That was my next question because a
mhm,
lot of companies, when they shut down, they just shut down,
mhm,
sent their employees home, got rid of them, laid them off, whatever. But we did the same thing. Like you engaged your clients, you
mhm.
kept them informed,
Yes.
which is important. And that's why when you reopened,
Hmm.
they all came flooding back.
Totally. Yeah.
Plus they were tired of doing their own hair.
Yeah, they were. I had people walking into the doors and they were like, "Thank God you're open. I never used to own a bottle of shampoo and I'm so grateful for you guys. I never knew how much I needed you." So, we have a lot of weekly clients that come in.
Yeah.
They come in once or twice a week. So, they have, memberships and they're loyal guests. So, they really did miss us.
Okay. Were you ever during the pandemic, during this time, and probably more of the 3 months rather than when you reopened, were you ever scared for the business?
Never.
No.
No. I already had experienced really scary times in the first 10 years. I should have shut down many, many times.
Mhm.
Uh, I was in the red a lot. There were times where I never had a business loan. I could never get a business loan. I was living off I was operating my business, a 3, 4 location business off a $10,000 credit card. So there was
Okay.
many times I was scared and should have shut down. And my banker, my accountant, my lawyer, everyone was like, "Well, how are you still alive? How are you still here?" Anyone else would have shut down already. So there was plenty of scary times I've had before. This was not scary for me.
So those earlier years prepared you for this big moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you use the term I should have shut down. Well, no, you shouldn't have because it was you learned from it, right? And this is what
Yeah.
prepared you for what we none of us knew
Hmm.
was going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think for people? Okay, question I like to ask my guests is what do you think separates those who succeed in business, whatever success looks like, right?
Hmm.
Because it's different for everyone, but those who succeed and are on the right path to succeeding from those who just consistently struggle and eventually quit.
Um, I guess I can only share what's gotten me through those really challenging moments. So there was times where I couldn't pay rent, or maybe I couldn't make payroll. Like I didn't think I could make payroll, but I did. I always made payroll. There was times where I couldn't pay for our supplier bill. for another 2 weeks. There were so many times where I was struggling financially, but none of those times I thought, this is the end of me or this is the end of the business. I would I would have a really crappy 3 days. I would allow myself to cry for one full day, just one day, because you need to release. Um, and it wasn't crying like, oh my God, this is the end. It was crying like, wow, this is so hard.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I would allow myself to cry for one day. Second day, I would be like, okay, we're going to think of a solution. We're going to think of how do we get out of this? What is the problem? Is it a cash flow thing? Is it a HR thing? Or is it, education thing? What is the problem? Is it a price point thing? Like our service price, we have blowouts. They're $59, but back then, when we started it, they were 33. Um, so I would sit back and think, what is the actual issue? And by day 3, I had a 4 point plan on how to tackle it. So I think I always thought of a solution based, like I would think of things on how to fix it rather than sitting back and thinking, why me? I would never pity myself, right? I asked for this, I wanted this, I saw the potential in it. So I have always, even to this day, I'm going through a pretty big change right now. I think, what can I do systematically? What can I do with the business to change what's going on, change the problem? So I guess maybe, having that mindset of what can I do to change it rather than, oh, how am I going to, this is awful.
Rather than the why me.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So I'm hearing a lot about people, processes, plans, and pivoting because you pivoted many times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, someone's listening to this and they're going through one of those times right now where it's like they're scared. They maybe
Mm-hmm.
can't make payroll or they can't pay their rent. What would you say to them?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
No, I was just thinking back when that kind of stuff happened to me. I remember there were times where I had maybe like nothing in the account, and next day, payroll was due, rent was due, visa was due, I had to buy shampoo. I had, all this money supposed to be coming out of the account. And obviously there's panic and wondering, how am I going to get through that? So I remember back then, a lot of times I would just have really straight, honest discussions with, whether it's my landlord or whether it's my banker, um, anyone. I would just have honest discussions and say, hey, I need 4 more days, or hey, I need 5 more days.
Mhm.
So that got me through the challenging moments. Or, my banker, I'm like, I know you have a $5,000 limit. I know you can push it to 10. Can you please do that for me? So having just really good relationships with not only your staff, but also all the people surrounding you in your world is really important. And then I think, like, over the years, I've always gotten, I don't know, lucky, or I don't know what it is. I've just been able to have really smart, good staff around me. And there's always somebody in that group of people that is, you can tell they are loyal to you, they're committed to you, they're committed to the business and the clients, and they want to see it succeed. And I think, rather than thinking I need to do all this myself, reaching out to them and saying, I need your help. Can you do this for me? And many, many times, almost every single time, they're going to say yes. Right. So even now, for example, for the last, since 2016, I've had a district manager who's helped me basically run the operations for all the locations, so that I can, be a mom as well. So my district manager, her name is Helen, incredible, incredible girl. woman, I should say. She's been with me for about 5 years, and basically she's me, but a little tougher and a little stricter. Like staff say I'm too nice, but she's a little stricter version of me. And anyway, she had to take a leave unexpectedly in November. And it was actually 3 days prior to me opening the new location. And it was 3 days prior to having our busiest month ever in December. And so it's been really challenging because she runs a huge part of the business. And here I am supposed to be on the, looking over it strategically and implementing new ideas and all that kind of stuff. But when she left, I've been left right now to manage basically 3 locations, one, a brand new one, which takes, as I said, different kind of energy, but also running the day to day at all 3 locations. It's really, really challenging. And so for the last few months, I kind of struggled and got through it. It was slow season in January, February. So, I could manage it. But now, as we've been wrapping up in March, I was like, oh my God, there's so much to do. And it's getting busier in bar, and we're hiring more people. I have more staff now. Um, there's just so much to do. How do I manage it? And so I sat down again, made a list of um, everything that needs to be done every day and every week, every month. And then I sat down with my managers and I said, hey, I need help. This is what this is what
Mm.
Helen would do, but now we're going to divide it up. I need you guys to do this with me. And so these young ladies, managers at each location, have been stepping up, and they've taken care of things that I didn't think they could take care of. And, I even had a staff meeting with one of my locations last week, and I just said, hey, like, I cannot do all of this myself. I cannot micromanage. I can't babysit. I can't, check in each single day with each single person. You guys are adults. You've been here 10 years. Like, let's pick it up differently now, you know? And so, yeah, so things have been better and it feels better. I feel lighter, and I feel like we're going to have a great summer.
That was a lot. I mean, it's the attitude,
Mhm.
right? I mean, obviously you
Yeah.
take action from that, but it starts with the mindset, it starts with the attitude. Like you talked
Yeah.
earlier about scarcity
Hmm.
versus abundance, and it's having just that, or the can-do attitude as opposed to
Yeah.
why is this happening? I mean,
Hmm.
there's a place to look at why, like why is this happening so we can fix it, as opposed to
Hmm.
why is this happening to me? There's a difference.
Hmm.
Distinguish that. Um, what about support? So, would you say your main support then is like the team around you, your staff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the main support. What I love about them is that they're also young too. They're all in their 20s and 30s. A lot of them have been actually with me for about 10 years. So I feel like we've kind of grown up together and learned each other's ways and all this kind of stuff. So um, they're loyal. I know they're loyal. I know their heart's in it. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. So I trust them. Right. So, yes, it's my staff. The other piece that's really, really supportive is other owners in the business, right? So my friends in Ontario or Indiana or California, in Texas, I have friends, in the system from all over. And so we have our own chat groups that we bounce ideas off of, or if we need to vent, or I'm having a really crappy day, I'm really worried about my numbers, or I don't know if I can reach my targets, whatever it is, or, just sharing even, I'm doing this promo this month, or I did it last month. They worked really great. Why don't you guys try it? So there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of just emotional support that you get from surrounding yourself with other business owners.
I love that because as business owners, entrepreneurs, most of us are, unless our significant other or friends are entrepreneurial, we're usually pretty alone in our business.
Yeah,
Because yeah, I mean, you have a strong team, which is awesome, but there's certain things you're not going to go to them with, certain things that you
that's
need to
right.
have, right? Other people on the same uh, business
Hmm.
level,
Yeah.
especially when things get tough. You're not going to
Hmm.
go to your staff when you're having a tough time making payroll. You need to figure
Yes,
things
I
out,
know.
right? Don't want to scare
Yeah.
them away. Um,
Yeah.
okay, before we wrap up, I'm curious, what would be one, if you had one piece of advice for entrepreneurs.
So this past year, I been focusing on my health a lot more. I think in the past, I've always been health conscious and all that, but this past year and a half, I really kind of focused more on it and more consistent on it. So I feel like when you're taking care of yourself physically and nutritionally and all those kind of things, you're actually a much more focused and energetically aware person within the business. And I don't know, I think that's really important, taking care of yourself. Um, the other piece is, again, I guess, not having negative, toxic, cruiser type people around you. Having the driven people around you.
I love that.
Mhm.
That's great. It's great advice for all of us.
Mhm.
Surround ourselves. It's all our inner circle. Surround ourselves
Yeah,
more with people who lift us up and even stretch us. People who
that's
are
right. Yeah.
smarter, further ahead, rather
Hmm.
than right. A
Yeah,
mentor of mine says, or once said, um, if you're the most important person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
that's right.
And I always found
Yeah.
that interesting.
Hmm. It's
So.
true. Yeah.
Okay, so people, I'm going to put your contact info in the show notes and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But if people want to get in touch with you and they just want to memorize it, they don't want to write it down, they want to reach out or whatnot, what's the best way to reach out to you?
I would say email for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Jen at blowmedry.com. I'm sure you will share that on your screen.
yeah,
We do have Instagram for my locations. So
perfect.
Blow Vancouver, BLO Vancouver, and Blow North Van.
Okay,
I check all that constantly, and I do have a personal Instagram, but it's not open. So
right.
I would prefer, yeah, email.
Yeah, email, perfect. Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I always love speaking with you. It's always honest and straight. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you reached out. Thank you.
No, I thank you, and you definitely shared some. I knew you would share some golden nuggets, as my father
Mhm.
used to say.
Yeah.
And especially about really one thing I'm taking away from this is the power, like it's really the people. It
Yes.
all comes down to the
Hmm.
people. Without the people, what do we have? It's all about
That's right.
we can't do this ourselves. And one of my,
No.
oh, I have a question for you. Here's a question.
Hmm.
Business book. Do you have sort of a favorite go-to kind of business book that you've read?
Um, Not book, but a podcast.
Okay.
And that, oh my God, I haven't thought about it in so long, but it is,
Other than the Stern Truth, of course,
of
podcast.
course, yeah. Uh, um, oh man, it's gonna escape me now because I haven't thought about it. I'll send it to you. You can
Send it to
include it
me.
in your, but basically what it is his name is Guy Raz.
Oh,
And
how I built this.
How I Built This. Yes, that's what it is. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And he interviews well-known CEOs or, executives from well-known brands. And just the type of questions he asks are very different than what a
Mhm.
normal interview would be. And he actually focuses a lot on the struggle of getting things going and the roadblocks these
Yeah.
owners or executives experienced early on in their businesses and how they got through those. And so I always find that powerful, and it always allowed me to see there is a way out. You just have to pivot. You have to think of a new thing. So I love his
It's good.
podcast for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's good. It's a really good podcast. And one of the things we're trying to do here is kind of be not the same, but similar in that I don't want to
Mhm.
hear just all the successes of
Yeah.
your company, but I want to hear the struggles you've had and how, like you said, like how you got through it and you shared some,
Hmm.
because it's not linear, our growth,
Yeah. No, not at
right?
all.
Some
Yeah.
some days, some years, it's like this is it. I've made it, and then the
Yeah.
next year, I mean, my best year in my sign business
Hmm.
in Sandbox, my greatest year revenue wise, not profit per se, although
Hmm.
actually revenue wise was 2019,
Right.
and I thought we're there.
Yeah.
Then we know what happened in 2020,
Yeah.
right? So just when you think you've got to keep going, You have to keep
That's
going.
right.
And you've used a lot of keywords here, including pivoting and that sort of thing. Okay, so we'll put that in there.
So, to talk about that, my best year was 2023, and we were nailing every category. I had the right staff, I had enough staff, we were excelling in all the different areas of our business, whether it's makeup or, services or retail or whatever. We were excelling in every area. And I thought, this is it. This is amazing. I don't know how I'm going to go up from here. And so last year, 2024, was a year that I didn't have enough staff and we weren't hitting our retail or service numbers, but we still matched revenue wise the previous year, which, I mean, it's good. It's still good. We were still number one, number two, or whatever we were. And then this year, I was like, no, that is not good enough for me. I don't want to be at that same place, even though it's great, it's excellent. I want to be even better. And so now last few months, we've been carving out a strategy on how to do that. So I said this to my staff last week. I never want us to be complacent, even though we're great already. I never want us to sit there at that place of comfort. So let's always push ourselves, keep growing, keep trying new things and seeing where we can get better. And so that's what we've been focusing on the last, 2 months. So hopefully it works.
Well, it will. And because you have the right attitude, sounds like you have the right team. And it goes back to, I mean, the whole pivoting word has been overused with the pandemic and whatnot, but you had to do it. You're constantly pivoting and improving. Unlike, look, there are companies that don't. And then it's like pivot or perish. Look at Blockbuster. Blockbuster had it all.
Yeah.
Right. Say no more. Another really good book. I think I've mentioned it on this podcast before, or another a good book, aside from the E-Myth, which is sort of the Bible of entrepreneurship, is WTF. I don't know if you've read that one.
Okay. No, I haven't. No.
Which is Brian Scudamore. So
yes, I know him. Yeah.
So WTF is willing to fail, and it's awesome because it's similar to what you would hear on Guy Raz on the podcast, because it's all about Brian's, from the leadership standpoint, and a business owner standpoint, how he built 1-800, but how he brought on the wrong people at certain times. And it's all about the people. It's all about bringing people on that were better than him, smarter than him. Yeah. And he couldn't do it without them.
That's right.
It was about having a vision, his painted picture of the vision, but then the mistakes he made.
Yeah.
And it's an honest conversation he has with, I guess, the readers. So it's a really good book.
Okay. I'm going to pick that up.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you, go into show notes, check it out, send her an email, go to Blow Bar, and there's 3 locations to serve you in the Lower Mainland. And of course, subscribe, like, and do all that kind of stuff with the podcast and share it so everyone can see and hear the amazing story that she's told us about today. So thank you so much, Jenny, and
thank you.
We will see you all again next week.
Yep.
Thank you so much for tuning in to The Starting True. If you found today's episode helpful, we would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and leave us a review. Also, if you'd like to be a guest in an upcoming episode or join us in one of our Momentum Accountability Group sessions, simply email me to marshall@marshallstern.net. That's marshallstern.net. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep pushing forward and leading with confidence.